Hey guys, Joe Miles here with Osseo Gear. This is the Mission Whitetail Podcast. We're going to be doing a deep dive into what it truly takes to kill these mature bucks. We're going to step outside the box and look at the why for gear, tactics, training, and more importantly, the mindset from over 35 years of chasing these magnificent animals all over North America. Thank you for following along and welcome to Mission Whitetail.
Guys, welcome back. Episode 20, Mission Whitetail. Merry Christmas. It's a couple days after Christmas. We did have a guest that was scheduled to come on today, but unfortunately his work schedule got all jumbled up and they had a bunch of people missing, so he had to fill in, so he's not able to do today. So this is a bit of a winger, but we got some good stuff to talk about. Let's start off, like always, with a season update. And, I mean, really for us, South Carolina, we're in our last week of the season. A lot of seasons are closing up into December, and then we get into a couple spots that have late season stuff, like Ohio goes super late. I think Kentucky goes to mid-January. Mm-hmm. I don't know about Missouri, Iowa. I don't know about that. Illinois goes into January.
Yeah. Iowa, I think mid-January, and Missouri goes a little bit later, closer to February, I think.
I know Ohio goes all the way into February.
Yeah.
So guys that are still grinding, still after it, obviously food right now is the key, kind of getting back into that early season stuff. The deer are going to be bedding close to the food. And, man, this bitter cold. I just got my bow back from Mexico. We flew into Dallas from Laredo. I drove across the border to Laredo. This was on the 22nd, and flew to Dallas. The plane was delayed, and we didn't get on the plane until like 11:30 at night. And they had both doors open, and it was about a 20 to 30 mile an hour wind, -3 wind chill. Oh. And the wind blowing through that aluminum plane, buddy, out on a T-shirt and a vest.
I bet you were happy you were sitting up front.
The nips. No, I was not. I was in the front row.
Yeah, no.
I was in A1, and it was a wind tunnel. I stood, that curtain that they have that's separate. I was wrapped up in that curtain. And the stewardess was kind of hot, too. I kind of tried to get her in the...
You want to wrap up?
Yeah, with her. She had on some over-the-knee boots. And,
man.
Some Christmas stockings.
That'll warm you up.
Yeah, that was about the only good thing about that flight. And then we got home at 3:30. It's when I got home. And, of course, none of the bags made it, which I really couldn't figure out because... It was a 4-hour delay in Dallas. The bags didn't make it. And Jack went and picked the bags up from the airport yesterday. So
the loaders must have been frozen.
They were. They looked like on that movie Christmas Story, Randy, the little brother. He's got his arms. I've never seen
Michelin Man.
I've never seen so many clothes on people. The Texans are not used to that kind of weather. Neither are the South Carolinians.
Mm-mm.
But Mexico was good, man. The rut was wide open. I was hunting a 10-point that actually got missed the week before. A guy shot at him, and I hunted him, I think, 7 sits. Killed him the last afternoon. Saw him 4 times, and finally a hot doe came in there that he was with, and he just couldn't stand it. He couldn't let her come in there and eat alone. So he came in there, and I got a crack at him and hit him good. And so got 2 good ones in Mexico, man. That was kind of wraps it up for me. I've got one more hunt this year. I'm going to the other side of Mexico, Sonora side, late January, early February, to do a desert mule deer out of a ground blind over water holes, which I think will be pretty cool. Never hunted mule deer in Mexico before, and that'll do it.
That's awesome. I've been just holding it down around the homestead and trying to do what I can to fill the freezer. I shot a big doe, what was it, last week or something?
Yep.
Shot a big doe with the new, new to me, it was used. I got a really good deal on it. But the Hoyt Venom Pro, I've been really liking that bow. I set it up in a couple hours, started shooting it, and I was shooting really good groups out to 50 with it. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to get a couple tallies on this old bird. So I went out and...
All right, talk about that for a minute, because, we got the new bow thing going, the custom bow works that we're going to be doing. How was the tuning of the Hoyt compared to the Matthews? Because we've messed with about every bow there is.
Yeah.
They say that new Bowtech is really easy to tune.
Mm-hmm.
But how was the Hoyt when you really dove into it and got after it?
The Hoyt was really easy. It was similar to the Matthews because they use the shims between the cams for when you want to shim over the center shot. So you can shim the cams over and just leave the center shot on the rest perfect or dead center. I think it's 13/16 or 5/8 or something like that. It's a little bit different. I know Matthews is 13/16. But anyway, same premise. You just shim them however you need it, shoot it through paper. I got a bullet hole pretty quick, and after that I just checked it with a walkback tune, and it was flying straight from 20 out to 50. It was pretty funny that my black gold I took off my Matthews, popped it on the Hoyt, and I was able to use the same tape and everything, so that made the setup quick. I zeroed it at 20 and walked back to 55 yards and shot a freaking 4-arrow group. And I was like, holy moly.
Same speed?
It has to be, because it was like dead on with around that 285, 286. Yep. It was dead on with that same tape. So, but yeah, I'm really liking it. It's a 30-inch bow versus my Traverse that was 33. And I shoot it just as good, and I can tell.
Oh, coming down
it's
to
a little, it is a little more maneuverable. So
never would have thought of that before.
Sometimes you're right, old boy.
Sometimes I am not right too.
But yeah, I'm really liking it.
Good. Update on the custom bow works. I know I've looked in the back there and seen quite a few bows back there that you've been working on, and I know guys, once we, get this season behind us, first of the year, guys are going to start looking into their new bows. How's that going?
It's going really well. I haven't really advertised it much because I don't have a whole lot of time to work on anything, but we've got a couple local guys that reached out, and I was able to, stay late and knock out a few things for them, but it's gaining a lot of traction, and I'm excited for next year to let it kind of just start snowballing and start knocking it all out. But yeah, I'm excited for it.
Yeah, so you really get started with that 1st of January.
Yeah.
And then be wide open. So guys, if you're interested in getting your bow super tuned, custom arrows, reach out to Kevin. Kevin B. Hunting on Instagram. That's probably the easiest.
Yeah.
Kevin at OsseoGear.com. Speaking of Osseo, how about that post we got from the guy in Minnesota?
Oh my gosh.
Negative 54 degrees. He was out moving snow in his yard. Negative 54, wore late season bibs, jacket, base layers, neck gaiter, beanie. In the picture, all you could see was ice on his eyelids and eyebrows, and he said he was toasty the whole time.
So go ahead.
No.
I was looking at the weather Sunday night, and I was going to try to go after try to shoot another doe yesterday morning, and I saw it was going to be down in the mid-teens, and I was like, you know what? I should probably bring the heavy jacket for tomorrow, which is probably the first time I've ever busted out the heavy jacket in South Carolina. But as I was parking my truck, the thermometer on it said it was 15, but all I had was like a T-shirt, thin shirt, this hoodie, and then the heavy jacket along with the Sherpa bibs.
Oh yeah.
And holy moly, it was the coldest thing naturally was my feet and my hands, but I had a hand muff. I can't wait till we get the hand muffs out. Those things are money. And I just had the thin gloves with one little hand warmer in there. I was so comfortable.
Good to go.
Yep.
Yeah, we did a lot of testing like in Kansas and Alberta, but never, into negative 50.
Yeah.
That's insane. So we got a lot of good feedback with our late season gear because of the. I mean, I guess that's a silver lining. I know a lot of guys got messed up for Christmas and stuff didn't get delivered and this, that, and the other. But I guess a silver lining is a lot of guys got to use the late season gear in some serious weather, and all the feedback we got was pretty incredible.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good. Well, I shot a doe yesterday with the rifle.
I know, that's all. It's fun to take the old longbow out every now and then.
So my bow has been stuck in Dallas, like I mentioned earlier, and my buddy who gives me permission to hunt on his farm wanted to shoot a bunch of does, and of course I was going to help with that, but so I took my son's rifle and went down there, and sure enough, 30 minutes before dark, food plot one came popping out there, big fat 120-pounder, which is big for us.
Yeah.
And I was able to actually lay down on the ground, so I got a really good rest and shot her at distance. And, man, that's the first deer I've shot with a rifle in a long time. But, heck, it got the heart going.
Yeah.
And that was fun. And so plenty of meat this year. I'm going to have a full freezer and very thankful for that. I am lucky that the wife and Jack, they love to eat it. We eat it at least once a week, if not more. Anything we do with hamburger is venison hamburger, and we'll do those whole loins and that we'll probably do a goal and New Year's resolution thing on the next one when we get into 2023. But I started back, the hunting season and work season with Osseo was so busy, October, November. My working out, even with getting up as early as I get up in the mornings, got kind of put on the back burner. So I really started back today, getting back into the swing of things, back in the gym this morning early, and looking forward to getting back to training. Plus,
our warehouse looked like a freaking bomb went off with all the stuff we had spread out everywhere. the way it's been so freaking busy, we haven't had time to really straighten it up until like a few days ago. So it
looked good in there today.
Yeah. We busted out the shop vac and everything, so it's nice. But I'm doing the same thing. I've been able to. The boys started to sleep throughout the night for the most part the last couple months, and I've been able to squeak out like 45 minutes to an hour at the gym before coming into work, and I can definitely tell the difference too. I was hanging. I was thinking about this the other day. I was hanging, doing a hanging hunt with I had my bibs and all the rest of my gear on my back, and I'm hanging the stick in this crooked ass tree, and I'm hanging off by one end, and I'm trying to cinch the strap down and keep my balance, but I can't hold on to the stick because it's loose, and my left leg was burning so bad. I was like, I wonder what it would be like if I didn't, do lunges and weighted step ups and stuff all the time. Would I just give up and say I'm getting in a different tree or what?
We talk about that all the time. You don't have to be in good shape to kill deer. I mean, that is. The guy we were going to have on this morning, he's a big CrossFit guy and really gets after it and stays in shape. But man, it helps with every facet of life. Mm-hmm. And you don't have to be a gym rat and spend an hour or 2 hours every day in the gym. But man, if you just start doing some basic stuff, push-ups, pull-ups, sit-ups, man, the GBRS boys talk about those 20-minute walks, in the mornings and in the evenings to start your day and finish your day. Just walking 20 minutes. I mean, all that'll help.
Yeah, and you never know when you're going to need it. It's not like, sometimes you're training for something, and then other times you're like, oh, wait a minute, let me go start working out a while before this hits me right now. You just never know when you're going to need to be in shape.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I think what we want to get into today, let me pull my notes up here. We want to talk, guys hit me up a couple times on Facebook about talking about outfitters and how do you select an outfitter. And then I'm going to even go further with that, and we'll get into talking about baiting, putting out corn and guys' ethics, because all that kind of runs together. Mission Whitetail, the podcast and what we do is to bring value and to try and help ourselves and other guys become better bow hunters. That's what we're about, and most everything we do is do it yourself.
Yep.
Obviously, I went down to Mexico, and that was with an outfitter, so that was not really a do-it-yourself. They've got some experience with bow hunting, but I think I really lended a hand with helping them tweak some of that. Mm-hmm. But that was an outfitted hunt. I went to Alberta this year, and as a non-resident of Canada, you have to hunt with an outfitter, or you have to do a hunter-host program, which is it's not the same thing, but you have to hunt with somebody up there. So there are instances when we hunt with outfitters. So I guess what the guy wanted to know was, how do you select a good outfitter? Because you hear horror story after horror story. I mean, I heard one this year from a guy that's a good hunter. He's been around. He's hunted a lot. He went to this place in Missouri. There were 55 guys opening morning of their gun season. They left at 2:30 in the morning to get them to their stand.
Oh.
They gave them a bag lunch, and they were picked up at 10 o'clock at night.
They just say, see you later.
I mean, I would have.
No, I can't.
No. But you hear those stories, not all the time, but you hear them a lot. And I have an outfitting business. Sporting Adventures International is an outfitting business. I started at guiding elk and mule deer in Oregon and waterfowl in Mississippi. That's how that business started. And it got to a point, I called it the sad phase.
Yep.
Guys would get out there. It didn't happen. It did happen, I guess, in the Oregon. It was a huge ranch. I worked for the owner of the ranch, and he had a lot of mule deer, a lot of elk, and so guys got opportunities. But, some would come in, and the weather was hot and didn't get as much action, and then the waterfowl was the duck hunting in Mississippi. I called it the long face syndrome, because guys would get there and it would be frozen, and there'd be no birds, and they couldn't understand it. They had seen the highlight videos and the advertisements of these guys holding limits of mallards, and they'd get the long face. So I completely abandoned all of that, and I said, you know what? I'm only going to offer trips that are 100% successful. So I started outfitting in Africa and Argentina. Argentina wing shooting is the best in the world. You shoot 1,000 doves a day. Africa, you're going to get whatever animal. For the most part, 99% of the time, you're going to get the animal if you're hunting with a good guy.
Yep.
So how do you select a good whitetail outfitter? You're from Florida and you want to go hunt in Kansas. You have to have a list of very, very specific questions, and you have to have those questions answered in writing. I set up a hunt this year, and I will not use any names, but I called the guy, and I said, look, I'm interested in coming to Saskatchewan to hunt with you, because a buddy had done some waterfowl hunts with this guy and said he had giant whitetails. And I said, but I don't want to book a specific week. I want to be on standby, and when the rut is going and there's some big deer hitting scrapes, that's when I want to come. And I understand that's not the model that guys, that you as an outfitter need to use. You want to have a commitment, you want to have a deposit, you want to have a certain week that the guy's scheduled to come in, but I'm not interested in doing that. And if that doesn't work for you, that is 100% fine. It's 100% fine. I did all this over the phone. And the guy was like, oh, no, absolutely, we can do that. We can absolutely do that. When they start hitting the scrapes and start daylighting, I'll shoot you a text, you hop on a plane and get up here. And I said, okay, great, let's do it. And I sent him a deposit. I never heard from him ever. I never heard, kiss my ass, it's cold up here, not a chirp, nothing. Not one damn word did I hear. And I've been doing this since I was 25 years old, and I did not follow my own rules. If I had put all this in writing and sent it to the guy in writing and he had agreed to it in an email, then what I would do right now is I would forward him that email and say, what happened? Send me my deposit back.
I think the biggest problem was your buddies gave you that recommendation, and you kind of just took the outfitter's word for it after that. They put in a good word for them, and it kind of bit you in the ass a little bit.
Yeah, but so here it is.
How big a boy is he? Should we go up there? Jerk a half inch in his ass?
He's got a really hot wife. I've mentioned that twice now. I hope Natalie doesn't listen to this. I mentioned the steward is hot, and this dude's got a hot wife.
Oh, yeah. She don't listen to us babble anyway.
Yeah, she won't listen to it. So here's what you got to find out. The outfitter model, for the most part, is really screwed up, because what happens, most of these guys get into the business and they have a passion for whitetail hunting, and the first couple years are really good. Then they start to get burnt out, and then they look at it as strictly a business. How do they make more money? They do a couple of things. They run more hunters.
Then it gets overhunted. They cut down on their leases and put the same number of hunters on fewer properties. Overhunted
again. They go up on their prices, and they stop paying for as many leases. So again, the overpriced, that can be a way to do it and still remain successful. But there has to be value there. The questions, the traditional outfitter where you go online and look up Illinois outfitters, that is the most dangerous thing that you can do. They all have pictures of giant bucks. They all know what to say about running trail cameras and getting pictures and all that. But what you need to do, and guess what? This might tick off the outfitter you send this list of questions to, but you're going to save yourself. Your list of questions needs to be, how many hunters do you run a year? That needs to be the first thing you ask. If he doesn't want to answer these questions, you need to stay away from him. You need to ask, how many acres does he have under lease or owned? So you look at the number of hunters, the number of acres, how many stands does he have hung? How many stands does he put out each year? All right, so you got those three things in writing from him. So when you get there and he says, we have 4 hunters a week and we have 7,500 acres and there's 18 hunters there and everybody's hunting on top of each other, and you go into your stand and a guy just got out of it the day before, you've got all this stuff in writing.
Yep.
You also need to ask questions about how they hunt. Where the stands are located. You can dig in and find out if the guy really knows what he's doing, or if he is kind of a fly-by-night. I'm in Illinois, I throw stands up in the woods and walk you in there, and good luck. You drill down, where are his stands located? What kind of stands is he running? What type stands does he have? How does the process work once you get there? What time do you wake up? What time do you get to the stand? Are you going to be sitting all day? When does he start running hunters, and how many guys each week? You need to put all this stuff on a list and email it to him and get answers to all of those questions. What I have found is the guys that do the traditional take you out, put you in their stand, pick you up at the end of the day, the chances of being successful on it happens, but the chances of being successful with that type hunting it's really few and far between.
Yep.
A kind of a horror story, if you will. I hunted with an outfitter in Ohio. Again, won't use names here. But with my outfitting business, I obviously have a large clientele of hunters. And I talked with the guy and I said, look, I want to pay the same as everybody else that's going on this trip, but I'm going to bring you throughout the season another 10 to 12 hunters. He ran a really good operation. They killed big deer. He was a great hunter. He had been in it for about 4 or 5 years, still had the bug. So the first year I went up there and I hunted late season and had 2 camps of guys, and everybody had some good luck. They either saw a mature buck or they shot. It was really good, very well set up. The next year, it kind of went downhill. I was helping put him out so he could hunt, and I was getting late to my stand. And then the third year, I had this is back in the Matthews Dominant Bucks days, and had Tom Miranda sent a cameraman with me to film this. It was going to be a whole episode for Matthews Dominant Bucks. And he said, yep, we got a big deer coming in to, this bean field. It's late season, snow's on the ground. And so I go in there, and the first afternoon, I saw 2 super skittish does. I was like, what the heck is going on here? And I said, man, you got trail cam pics of him in here? And he's like, oh, the camera shorted out, the same. I
love the camera stories.
Yeah, the camera stories are awesome. No, I lost the card. The card's corrupted.
Yeah,
don't have
batteries died a month ago.
So get back in the blind, and I'm looking at the blind because something is just not adding up. And what do I see? I see a rip in the window. And I'm like, that looks fresh. Look a little closer, and sure enough, it looks like a broadhead has hit this window. And that could have happened weeks ago. Somebody could have cut it with a knife, whatever. But I'm no dummy. So the young guy that took me out picked me up that night, and I said, so the guy that was in here last week missed that buck? I see where the ground blind got hit. And he goes, yeah, he was shooting with a crossbow, and he was aiming, his scope was the
height over bore.
The height over bore, yeah, was not right, and he shot the ground blind.
Hook, line, and sinkered him.
Yeah, and you know what I did? I got back, I packed all my stuff, and I left, and I've not spoken to that guy again. He knew all that happened and still threw me in that ground blind. Instead of saying, hey, man, here's what happened. We really don't have anything big, hitting it. We can try and go find some spots, but 100% lied, 100% threw me in a gar hole. And it was a guy I was sending lots of hunters to. But back to picking an outfitter, the perfect world is the way Chris Seymour does it in Kansas. He is the only outfitter that I will vouch for, and this is a 12 to 15-year relationship. I actually own a farm with him and lease farms out there. I'm not part of the outfitting program that he has, but he does it what I consider to be absolutely perfect. He has leases that he runs cameras on. Mm-hmm. Now in Kansas you can feed, so he has corn piles, he has feeders, he puts cameras on scrapes, he puts cameras in funnels, and when you get there, he has collected all of that data from those trail cameras, and he sends you into a virgin spot that has not been hunted, or maybe it's not a virgin spot, but a big deer just showed up into the property.
Right.
And you go have at it. You're going into a spot that has a buck. It may not always be daylight, but you're going into a spot that has a mature buck to hunt that has not been harassed. And then it's on you. And for me, that is the perfect scenario and what I think guys should look for. And even with these outfitters, that churn these hunters through, if you get a really good recommendation for one of them, you can propose that in your email. Say, Mr. Smith, I would like to come and hunt with you. I would like to hunt on a farm where I can hang my own stands. What I would like is for up-to-date intel, live pictures or up-to-date pictures of a mature buck in this farm, and then let me go have at it.
Yep.
Some of them aren't going to let you do that, and that's fine. Move right along. And don't get me wrong, there are guys that go with outfitters every year and kill big deer. It happens every year. But the chances are not great, and I want to bet on myself more so than an outfitter. And if you can find somebody that will turn you loose onto a virgin property or one that has recent pictures of a mature buck, that's what you need to be looking for. I mean, you did a thing this year in Kentucky.
Yeah, it was kind of the same deal as Chris's kind of. I just got on a lease, and they let me put out my own cameras and sit wherever I wanted to sit. And I actually just sent some money. I Venmoed this kid some money for a few bags of corn to go freshen up because they had that storm up. I mean, everybody got the storm, but to go put out some corn in front of this camera to see if anything late season would show up. Nothing big showing up, but there's deer out there. But yeah, it's the same thing. I just hang my cameras where I want. I know the boundary lines and sit wherever I want, and they pretty much gave me free reign of the place. So go whenever.
Yeah, and that to me, that's the ideal thing, is to have a Seymour type guy or a property where you have a trespass fee for the season. You can go and come as you please. But some guys don't have the luxury of doing that. They don't have the time.
Yeah.
Right. They need to. They've got to pick. Okay, November 1st through the 7th. That's my vacation. I do not have time to go out there any other time of the year. I want to go have my best chances at a big deer for the rut or the pre-rut. How do I book with an outfitter? And the best advice I can give you is to get all the little details in writing. How many hunters? Are the stands rested? Are the farms rested? What time of year do you recommend? And a lot of these guys that are good at it, they're going to be booked up.
Yep.
Right? Guys are going to repeat. And quite frankly, those are the ones you need to be looking at, is the ones the guy calls and says, man, I am booked for the rut for the next 2 seasons. Well, then you go ahead and get your deposit down for the third season, because there's a reason guys are continuing to go back there. You call a really good, reputable outfitter that does it right, and he's got openings in November 1st through the 7th of 2023, he ain't the right guy.
Mm-mm.
I mean, he is not the guy you want to go with, because there's a reason those guys that went November 1 through 7 didn't rebook immediately. Right. Because those places are so far and few between.
Yep. So what you're saying is it's almost like putting in almost if you find, it's almost like drawing a tag in Iowa. If you find a good, reputable outfitter, you got to plan it out 2 or 3 years ahead of time to get your name in the hat.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, absolutely right. Like even the guys in Africa that I work with, if you want to go on a free range, fair chase, Zambia lion safari, I mean, it's a 4-year wait to get in with these guys, because they're booked up so far in advance. So I guess that's another tip, is when you call the guys and he says, yeah, we got 4 openings in the first or second week of November, that is a huge red flag.
Right.
Seymour, you can, I mean, he's at max capacity too. He does add properties each year and culls properties each year. He's at about max capacity of what he can handle. But you can get in there in year 2, year 3 if you contact him. Kansas is getting tough. You know, they're talking about Kansas is going to be just as hard as Iowa here in the next couple of years. It'll be interesting to see what happens with the draw this coming year. But yeah, so that's my spiel, I guess, on outfitters. Detailed email. Do not do it over the phone because words get twisted and confused. And then you have recourse to go back on.
Right.
You know, you have all your questions answered in writing, and you know, you get there and it's not what he told you. Now, they can't control the weather. You know, you go the first week of November and it's 80 degrees. You can't get upset about that. You know, that's they're wild animals. But if you're hunting a virgin spot, it's in a good funnel. You know, it makes sense where it's hung. They're taking you in on the right wind. It's got good access. They're picking you up on time. You know, they're doing what they're supposed to do. They're working hard. You know, kudos to them. You can't get upset about that because you don't kill one. It happens all the time.
Right.
I mean, I think the success rate on mature bucks is you know, with archery equipment is less than 20% in these you know, big Midwest states where big deer are. So it's not a guarantee. You can't think it is, but if things are run properly and it adds up to what you were expecting, then the guy did a good job, and it just is what it is.
It's also nice if you can find a guy who lets you come back like late season or something when the schedule opens up if you don't kill, you know, that rut time or whenever you go up the first time.
Yeah, cover his cost.
Yeah, that'd be really nice.
Yeah, cover his cost for going back, meals, lodging, whatever it may be. And guys will do that too. That's another good question to have answered on your list is, hey, if something happens, I don't get one in the rut, can I come back late season? And if so, what would that cost me to do?
And that's something that I've learned. One of the big things I learned from you, just business-wise altogether, is have it in writing.
Yeah.
Just everything, have it in writing.
And it's so sad. It's so sad that we've gotten to a point where you have to do that.
Yeah, that and sometimes people just forget. I know we forget stuff all the time. Like, go check your email. Like, oh, yeah, you did tell me that.
I never do that.
Oh, no.
All right, now let's move on to something, I guess, controversial. Bait. Corn piles and bait.
If you ain't baiting, you're waiting. Who said that?
That was T-Bone, was it not?
It's pretty funny.
Yeah, it is really funny. All right, so it's like I don't want to use another girl analogy. Lots and lots of people bait.
It's like a moped. It's real fun riding it, but you don't want your buddies knowing about it.
You know, we see posts all the time about a guy will stumble into a corn pile and say hunting, or, you know, this is not hunting, this is baiting. And I mean, we could get into a whole thing on ethics, right? And what's ethical and not ethical. You know, everybody falls somewhere between these two parameters. I say this all the time. You go naked with your fingernails and teeth, or you use a 300 Win mag in a 1 acre pasture with a buck in there that there's no cover. You fall somewhere between that. The 1 acre pasture with the tower stand and the corn feeder and the 300 Win mag, it's legal, but a lot of guys are going to say, you know, hunting in a high fence like that in 1 acre is not ethical. And that goes you all the way down to you going naked in the woods with your fingernails and teeth, making it as fair, humanly fair as possible. Mm-hmm. So you fall somewhere between there. When you go to the bait states, when you go to Kansas, when you go to Kentucky, when you go to Ohio, I won't say 100%, 95% of people put corn piles.
Yep.
And they will hunt over those corn piles. Right, wrong, whatever it is, it's legal, it's productive. Guys kill deer all over it. I mean, Mexico, Texas. I was just in Mexico, and there was corn out. And the guys would come in with the trucks, and when they dropped you off, they'd corn the senderos, and that's what brought the deer out.
Mm-hmm.
So I hunted over corn. Here in South Carolina, we put corn out early season. We put mineral out. You have to. For me, I don't care what guys do. And if a 5.5, 6.5 year old giant buck wants to come into a corn pile at 4:00 in the afternoon and be dumb, I absolutely will take advantage of that.
Mm-hmm.
That for me very rarely happens. I almost use corn piles as food plots.
Yeah, that's what I think it was the last episode we were talking about that. I call it the poor man's food plot.
Yeah, and so that is, if you are manipulating whitetail habitat, if you will, if you are putting out a food plot, if you are putting out a corn pile, if you're putting out mineral, heck, if you're putting in a mock scrape, all that is manipulating the natural environment.
Yep.
I mean, guys that go on public ground and hunt funnels and hunt natural sign, that's a badge of honor. That's great. Guys that want to stack the deck in their favor a little more, put out food plots, put out corn piles, put out mineral, put out mock scrapes. That's certainly fine too. Is it harder to kill one 100% naturally? Of course it is. Of course it is. I think the main thing is own it.
Yeah.
Right? Is don't talk about doing things 100% naturally and, I'm the greatest hunter on earth. I read his sign and he came in, and we always say he was eating muscadines.
Yeah.
That's our
He's eating
briars.
muscadines and yellow acorns.
Yeah. So own it, right?
Right.
That gets into we're bouncing around a little bit. ADHD is taking over here, but that gets into I read a Facebook post this morning. A guy was it was so well written. A guy was talking about how tired he was of, he's not the biggest buck, but he's going to fill the freezer.
Yeah.
That is super irritating. You've compromised what you were going after by saying he's not the biggest. So you're not happy with him. He's not the biggest, but then you're justifying it by saying, but he'll fill the freezer.
No. You killed him anyway.
And you killed him anyway. No. If you want to fill the freezer, shoot a doe or go shoot a buck. But don't say he's not the biggest.
Yeah.
I wanted to fill my freezer, and the first deer that comes by, I'm shooting it because I want to fill my freezer, and I'm doing exactly what I want to do.
Or if you're not happy with it, don't say anything. You don't have to make a dang Facebook post about everything you do.
That is true too. You absolutely don't. But so baiting, it really is up to what you want to do.
Yep.
If you want to hunt over the corn pile and shoot a deer coming into it, have at it.
God, it can screw you so hard too. Ask me how I know.
Yes, that is the experience. Growing up in a bait state like South Carolina, I've just learned sitting over the bait, they're going to come in downwind of it. The mature deer are. They're going to smell you. How are you getting out of there? I mean, you can in the mornings, but how are you getting in there in the mornings? You're going into the bait pile in the dark.
Yep.
You're going to run everything off.
Mm-hmm.
You go in the afternoons, and they come in right at dark or when it gets dark. How do you climb down and get out of there?
Yeah.
So I guess if you are running supplemental feed or you are running bait piles, figure out spots where you can put them so that the deer are funneling by you going to the bait pile.
And that's actually in that spot. It was my second time I sat it this year. My buddy just got permission on it in the upstate. He had a camera with feed out. There wasn't any feed out at the time, but I think they were still coming through there just to see. And what I did was, he told me they were coming in there mid-morning or whatever, and I snuck in there in the dark because for some reason, they were coming in at the perfect time to go in there at the morning. It still gave me plenty of time to hang everything and take my time. But anyway, I just went in there past where they were coming through to the camera, and there's this giant blowdown that one side, it went just to this steep creek, and then the other side it went to the base of this hill, and there were 2 good trails coming right to each side of it. And I said, well, I could shoot 25 yards this way and 30 yards this way. I'm going to get right in the middle in this tree and see what happens. And he read the freaking script.
Well, and there's something to say for a pure hunt. I mean that is so rewarding when you do a pure hunt. And what I mean by pure hunt means no bait, no food plots. Yep. You know, you get into the woods, you read the sign, you become a better hunter, and it is very, very rewarding to kill a big deer or kill a deer like that.
Yep.
You know, if you're baiting because you want to have an Instagram post of a deer, that's the wrong mindset.
Right.
You know, you need to own it, and if you want to bait, certainly fine. It's where it's legal. Knock yourself out. It's a different kind of hunting. It's still hunting. You know, some guys say it's not hunting. It absolutely is still hunting. It's just a different kind of hunting. And again, I'll say it one more time, and we can move on. But just own what you do. If you know, these guys that shoot the deer in the high fence, I got no problem with that. I actually think that would be some great practice.
Yeah.
You know, early season, go into one of these high fences and whack a couple deer. You know, get the kinks out.
Test your setup.
Test all your stuff. I think that's a great idea. Just own what you're doing.
Right.
If you go in there and shoot one, don't come out and say I see these posts all the time. You know it's a high fence deer. It's this big palmated, freaking 320-inch deer, and we hunted him for 2 weeks, got 14 camera pictures of him, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, it's in Michigan, you know, and you know it's in a high fence. Just whatever you do, just own it. That's the big thing for me.
And be prepared to get, if you're living by the bait, you'll die by it. Because I've been, like I said, and I'm sure it's happened to you, I've been blown out right as it's time to get down by the big one. Or like this past, I hunted Christmas Eve afternoon on that same property in the upstate. And I was like, well, I'm just going to see what the wind is doing and hang in a tree depending on what the wind is doing and keep where that camera was in sight, but also hunt these trails. But at the same time, the first 2 times I hunted there, I've seen these deer come off this hill and cross this gas line in this just natural creek crossing. And if I didn't say, hey, I got to be near where I could shoot this area, and just went and hunted the creek crossing, I would have shot another big doe. But I had the bait mindset. Even though there wasn't anything there, I was like, maybe they'll come check it again. And that ended up screwing me. Instead of just going 100 yards that way and setting up on the creek crossing where I saw four big old does.
Yeah, it is. You're going to become a much better hunter getting away from bait. You're going to become a much, much better hunter getting in the woods, reading the signs, making mistakes, observing what the deer are doing, how they're moving through the area, unmanipulated. You can be successful on bait, but again, especially here in South Carolina, I mean, which I can speak to with certainty, it is very, very difficult to kill a big mature deer in South Carolina with a bow over a bait pile.
Right.
Now, the farm where I was hunting last night, you know, they've got the tower stands and the food plots and the feeders that are 150 yards away. You know, you can, you know, guys out there do shoot some nice deer, you know, that way. And good for them. They enjoy it. That's what they like to do, and that's perfectly fine. I guess wrapping this up, you know, we talked about outfitters, bait, and hit on ethics a little bit. There's a huge divide. Bait hunting is frowned upon. Food plots can be frowned upon. Mock scrapes can be frowned upon. Crossbows can be frowned upon. Rifles can be frowned upon. High fence hunters hunting with an outfitter. If you aren't hunting out of a saddle with a recurve bow on public land in Pennsylvania, you aren't squat. I mean, it's so annoying. It's so annoying. Guys, do things legal, do things that you like to do that make you happy, and just own what you do.
Yep.
Just be honest about it and move on. I mean, nobody cares. What is it, Cameron Haynes? Nobody cares.
Yeah.
Work harder.
Yeah.
Nobody does really care. I don't care how anybody does anything. I'm hunting for me and my family, and I literally, as cliche as this sounds, want to put food on our table. We love to eat it, and so I'm hunting for me and what I want to do, and for my passion. And I know you're doing the same thing. And
yeah, Kristen texted me the other day, and she was making like a venison stroganoff, and she goes, "I think this is the last packet of ground meat." And I was like, "How in the heck did we go?" I think I shot. That would have been 3 deer already that I cut up and put in the dang freezer, and we ate all the ground meat already.
Yeah,
that's insane.
I mean, so it literally is something we do to feed our families, and it's healthy, it's good. So guys, we appreciate it. Thanks for tuning in. Any questions, comments? Love to hear y'all's feedback on bait and outfitters. If you got any tips on outfitters, let us know. Merry Christmas to everybody. Happy New Year. We'll be back in a couple weeks, and we'll touch on. Hopefully, we'll be able to get Justin in on the next one. Talk about some goals and setting goals for the 2023 season.
Thanks, guys.
Take care.